Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. As promised, today I'm going to make a video where I'm going to answer a question that I've got multiple times now, where basically it's what would I do if I had to start all over again? If I was starting at ground zero, knowing what I know now, what would I do? I got this question by, like I said, multiple people. It seems like in a period or a span of like 3 weeks, I got this question maybe over like 15 times, which is interesting because this is one of those questions that it's not something that I can just answer easily. I need some time to think about, and I think I've given it enough time to think about, and definitely enough, questions that I've asked myself. The person who posed the question, at least that stuck in my mind the most, was Miss Molly. Shout out to Miss Molly, a viewer of the channel. And she asked specifically, if she had a little bit of money or having a little bit of money, what would I personally do and knowing what I know now? And the reason why I asked her how much money and are we comparing my knowledge base to what I would do, because when I first started, guys, I didn't know the things that I knew now. And everything that I do know now comes from just years of just, working it out, solving problems, encountering errors, learning things, taking courses, studying, even taking courses that might seem monotonous or boring. Those are things that I've did, and not all of them helped. I'm not going to sit here and act like they all helped. Not all of them necessarily helped. Let me go ahead and turn on my microphone here so I could hear my voice, know how high or low I'll go with my voice, but not all of the things helped, and some things did help. So I'm going to kind of confine my answer here. And once again, I'm going to try my best to give you guys the absolute value today, the highest value, putting into consideration a limited budget, so somewhere around $500. And I don't even think you need to spend that much money. So let me put things into perspective. If I started today with all the knowledge that I have now, but little to no money, and assuming I have the same time that I have now, meaning I don't have a job to go to, or I don't have a person over my head telling me I have to do XYZ task. Like, I'm not a freelancer. I'm not I don't have a job to work at. This is what I would do. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to present many options to you guys, and I'm going to tell you why I would and why I would not do certain things, okay? And we're going to specifically stick to the world of the print-on-demand kind of world. Does that make sense? Because there are things that I would do outside of print-on-demand, which, as you guys know, is kind of like my job. The thing that I do that pays my bills is I own a bunch of websites that are blogs. So literally websites with articles on them, 10, 20, 100, 500 articles, and each blog doesn't have 500, but it's a range. Every single website is a little bit different, and each website has these articles that pay me. So knowing what I know now, I would probably go down that road, and that's assuming I had no money. But we're going to keep this answer confined to the world of print on demand, okay? So let's go ahead and start off at the top. The first thing I would do, I would apply for Merch by Amazon. This is the first thing I would do. Merch by Amazon is probably one of easily the most powerful and it is the best. I'm not going to sit here it is the best platform that comes, okay? The nice thing about Merch by Amazon is you do not need to have a portfolio site to apply, okay? Displate is an example of a website that I would also apply to in the very, very beginning. But Displate requires you have to have some sort of portfolio, some sort of backing to apply with. I have a Displate account now, okay? I didn't always have one. I have one now. And the reason why I'm not making videos or guides or anything like that about Displate is because I'm still a student of the Displate game. So I can't teach something that I'm not an expert in, and therefore I'm not going to make any videos on it. Does that make sense? Once I get to the point where I'm making consistently $4,000 or $5,000 a month on the platform, then I could say I'm probably in the top 5 to 1% of the platform, and I don't mind making videos, teaching, things like that. But at this point in time, I'm nowhere near that. So literally just started. But Displate and Amazon are the first platforms that I would apply to. Okay, there's no guarantee that I'll get accepted, but I would still apply to them. Now, Displate, like I said, does require to have a portfolio. So if you find it valuable in place to create a portfolio site, then that might be beneficial to you. Now, here's the thing about portfolio sites, guys, is that you can create a website that you can use for other things, i.e., I mentioned blogging. I mentioned writing content on your website, doing the SEO, making money that way. I have a whole YouTube channel on this. I'm not going to go too deep into it this video, but these are one of the examples. And most people, before they even watch my video, already know if they're going to go with Displate, create a website, the whole thing. They either know or they probably know, all right? And I'm actually going to make a video in the future, probably sometime this week, about Displate, where I've connected with somebody who basically had created a bunch of accounts and has accounts for sale. So just instead of going through the application process. But regardless, we'll leave that for a different video. So like I said, the first thing I'll do is I'll apply to these businesses: Amazon, Merch by Amazon, and Displate. If I happen to get accepted to them, great. I would start producing content for them. If I don't, it's okay. I would move on. So let's just assume that you get accepted into Merch by Amazon. An optional platform to use for Merch by Amazon is Merch Informer. I use Merch Informer. I have a Merch Informer account. I don't have Amazon anymore. I use Merch Informer for specific reasons. I've outlined those reasons in previous videos. If you want to happen to use Merch Informer, and Merch Informer is great for analytics statistics that relate specifically to Amazon, I'll leave a link in the description with a discount code where you can access Merch Informer. And once again, I have made videos, on Merch Informer, and I do have an active account on Merch Informer. I just don't talk about it too much because I've spoken about it before. And most of the people that watch my videos don't have a Merch by Amazon account. I would say at least half of them. And it's not really beneficial to all people. But yes, I do have it. It does help, etc. So now let's go ahead and talk about what I would do after. So maybe at this point, I might have a Merch by Amazon account. I might not. I'm using Merch Informer to kind of help me. And Merch Informer, by the way, is not a requirement. It just helps. It just simply helps from a statistics perspective. Okay? What would I do next? This is a good question. Let me go ahead and lower my tone of voice there so I don't blow out your ears. What would I do next? Okay. So let's take a deep breath here. The first thing I would do is I would begin by creating a Redbubble account, and I would also create a TeePublic account. Now, Redbubble and TeePublic are similar in that the design type that you can create is similar. Let me go ahead and get back to Redbubble. Sorry about that. I closed out the link there. But the art style is similar, meaning I can take my art design, like let's just assume this is my art design. Let's click on any random one here. This design, and I can put it on TeePublic. I can do that. Okay. Now with TeePublic, there's something that you have to be aware of. With TeePublic, when you first create an account, your account is not going to be in the marketplace. So what I mean by that is if you create a fish design and you search for the word fish, you're not going to find your design in the list most of the time. We're talking 90% of the time at least, okay? I've made in my TeePublic course, which is right here, autopilot, let me go ahead and whip it out, autopilotpassiveincome.com, TeePublic course. I showed the world pretty much in the course how I got accepted into the marketplace on multiple accounts. It's my exact step-by-step process. So if that's something you're struggling with or that's something you want to learn about, it might happen to help you. But there's really I don't want to say there's no point because you can make money on TeePublic without it, but 90% of the sales that you're going to get is going to come from the search here, the algorithmic search. And maybe not even 90%. Let's just be generous and say 70%. 70% is going to come forth from it. It's a benefit to have it. So if you don't have a TeePublic account, then I would focus more on Redbubble. You're more in time on Redbubble. With Redbubble, there's other businesses where you can upload your art that you don't necessarily have to apply to in a way that you have to apply to TeePublic. And you don't have to apply to TeePublic, but you need to get approved. In the same way that you don't have to get approved. Let me kind of fix my words. So let's go ahead and talk about those places. One of those places is Zazzle. Okay, so Zazzle is also important, but you have to realize for extreme levels of success on Zazzle, your art is not going to be the exact same of yours on Redbubble. The nature of the art is just not the same. I've spoken about this numerous times. I pretty much mentioned this in every single Zazzle video I created, and I have created easily over 40, 50 videos on Zazzle, okay? Zazzle is a platform that primarily focuses on customization. I'm pretty sure you guys all know that. I've made videos about it before, but Zazzle is a great place to start. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little golden rule with Zazzle. I've shared it before, but with Zazzle, I do not create my designs first and then do the research, which is what most people do. I do the research first, then I create the designs off the research. Most people, I'm going to say 90%, that's a guess, of sellers on Zazzle create the design first, then apply the research, or apply the tags they believe they researched to the design, which is the biggest mistake you could do. The key with Zazzle is to provide what people are looking for, okay? So the best thing I can kind of recommend here is using the Zazzle AI Rocket Tagger. Now this, if I had limited money and I was uploading on Zazzle, without negotiation, I would be focused on this tool. So this tool right here, the Zazzle AI Rocket Tagger, is going to provide extreme success. Now, if you noticed, I didn't mention any Redbubble tool, any AI Tu Public tool. Although those tools are extremely beneficial, like the Redbubble Rocket Tagger tool, it will not help you nearly to the greatest effect that Zazzle will. Now, the Redbubble tool is extremely good, but the Zazzle tool is an active predictor. And when I say what a predictor is I literally have done this so many times, time and time again, with Zazzle, where I go out there, I do the research, and I've shown how to do this in videos. I pull keywords together, and I create designs off of those keywords, and I make money. Literally in a matter of weeks, I make sales off of that design. So Redbubble, it's a little bit different. With Redbubble, when I create a design, or even before I create a design, I'm finding keywords that relate to the design. Does that make sense? And then I'm slowly getting ranked higher and higher with more sales, with more favorites, more things like that. Now, here's the difference. If I had limited budget, let's just say $500, I have a total of $500 that I'm willing to spend for the whole entire year, okay? This is what I would probably do. I would give myself the most focus just for 1 month on Zazzle, maybe even 2 or 3 months, just depends on the situation, where I'd focus all on Zazzle only for 2 to 3 months, okay? And I would use the Zazzle tool with that, all right? And I would predict the certain keywords that I would use using the method or the strategy that I provided in the videos, all right? And the thing with Zazzle is, and I made a Zazzle course, okay? The Zazzle course, I'm not promoting it, I'm just simply explaining what it is that there are certain strategies to tagging. For the most part, if you use the Zazzle tagging tool, you'll be okay. Some people say, well, what's the point of having the course, right? The course is just kind of like a guidance without using the tool, right? What do you do without the tool? But the tool, if you knew nothing about Zazzle, if you knew nothing about Zazzle today, and you started Zazzle and you were only using the tool, you'll do extremely well. And I'm not saying that's actually in my disinterest. You know, that actually doesn't help me as a creator saying this kind of stuff. But because if I really wanted to push more, Zazzle course sales, I absolutely could. But I'm not going to say that. The Zazzle course is great, but the tool is it's like rocket fuel. I just can't explain. You guys should watch the Zazzle videos. But the next thing I would do is I would limit my budget. So if I'm paying for 3 months for the Zazzle tool, let's see here. Do they have a deal on the quarter? Let's see, quarterly, $26.99. So I'll save a few dollars if I pay quarterly. The difference between $29.99 and $26.99 is not huge, but let's just say I pay quarterly for 3 months. During those 3 months, I'm eating, breathing, sleeping Zazzle. That's all I think about. That's all I create. That's all I work on. Okay? If you remember my goals video, I said I wanted to create 100 Zazzle products that are creating income on a daily basis. That is extremely hard to do because of the quantity. However, it is extremely profitable. I've spoken about this before, but with Zazzle, you can sell products in bulk, depending on the product, right? And in bulk means just more than one. And so, for example, if I'm selling one sticker on Redbubble of a product, I can make 18 cents, 25 cents, 45 cents, whatever. If I'm selling, let's just say, a pack of whatever on Zazzle, I'm making money for the large quantity. Does that make sense? So that helps. As I'm finishing up with Zazzle, then I would probably focus on Redbubble. And on Redbubble, it's going to be a different form of art. Remember, that's what I'm focused strategically on. Now, once again, I can take my Redbubble art and upload it to Zazzle. I can absolutely do that. But if I'm maximizing my source of income and I'm really doing this strategically and I'm doing it the right way, then I'm going to differentiate my art. Does that make sense? It's not going to be the same style. And when I create my certain products for Redbubble, I will then use the Redbubble Rocket Tagger. Now, here's the thing with the Redbubble Rocket Tagger, and I'll kind of tell you the reason why I use it. The Redbubble Rocket Tagger is the only tool that I can really get very, very, very good Redbubble tags for the platform, okay? The thing with the Redbubble Rocket Tagger is that not only does it speed up time, but it decreases my error. I'll explain what I mean. Let's just say I'm creating a design for something about ghosts, because this is a ghost example. Let's just use this. The Redbubble Rocket Tagger tool is going to grab tags for me by looking all through the designs that relate, and it's going to find tags that can relate to my design that I would have never thought of. Does that make sense? And that's when it counts. That's when it helps. Because if you know anything about Redbubble and about Tu Public, the easiest way to get sales are in lower competition niches. And the tool helps me find these lower competition niches with the click of a button. Most people have to sit there for hours on end trying to figure it out. I don't have to do that. I click a button, I get the tags, I use the tags that I want, and I can pick and choose. And a lot of those times I can pick and choose the tags that are lower competition, and that will help me drastically. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that you can't do that yourself. It's just significantly harder, and you don't know what you don't know. So if I'm sitting there and my brain can only think of, let's say, 10 units worth of tags, but really the 16th unit or the 15th unit or the 21st unit is the unit that's going to help me get the sales. If I don't tag that tag in my listing, and one day somebody searches for it and they don't find my product, well, guess what? I'm not going to get a sale. So for me, and this is kind of my emphasis here, is that the Redbubble tagging tool, what it does is provide me with keywords that I would not normally thought about that would provide me sales. On the off chance that I don't remember certain words or I can't use certain words because I don't think of them, that's why it provides me sales. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I would do there as well. So now, if we're talking about a $500 budget, at this point I've spent about $30 on Zazzle, and I've worked hardcore for 3 months making money there, and that should be passive income. I should never have to go back to it and work on it, whatever. That should be passive income that I can rely on. And then I have the Redbubble Rocket Tagger tool, which is, let's see, $12.99. I would pay for that maybe starting month 4, because let's say month 3, from month 1 to 3, I'm focused only on Zazzle. So at that point, from month 4 all the way to the end of the year. So let me do the math on that. Do they have a discount first? Let's see, quarterly, every 6 months. So month 4 plus 6, that's 10. Okay, so $78 for every 6 months. Is that a discounted rate? Let's see. Let's whip out the calculator here. Let's see. We have, where is this? $78. That's, how much is it a month again? $12.99. Okay, so $12.99 times 6 is equal to 78. So you don't really get a discount with the every 6 months deal. Let's see, yearly, do you get a discount? 99. Okay, so I'll just bite the bullet and buy yearly. That would save me $20. So far I'm in, let's say 100 plus 30. Okay, so at that point I'm 100 plus 30. Now let's think of this. Let's backtrack here. So far at this point, I'm uploading to Redbubble pretty much the whole year because I bought the yearly. I also worked very, very hard on Zazzle for 3 months. 3 months, guys, is about 100 days. You can literally change your life during that period of time. So 100 days, and I have the Zazzle tool. If I get accepted into Merch by Amazon, great. If I don't, it is what it is, unfortunately. It is what it is. Display, if I get accepted, phenomenal. If I don't, I don't. There's nothing really I could do at that point. I would say as a beginner, as a complete beginner, I would not purchase a Displayed account. And you guys will know, in a few days, I'll be putting out like a video of how you can buy one, a Displayed account. I wouldn't recommend it as a beginner. With Displayed, the art is more competitive. You do have to have a little bit more design skills, and I really recommend that you level up your game in terms of art before you jump on Displayed, and it's really not a place for beginners. The tagging is not extremely difficult. It's the art that's the hard part. The art has to be phenomenal. So the art for Displayed, if you can't get accepted, I wouldn't go buy account right away. All right, so let's leave that as simple as possible. If you have a Merch by Amazon account and you're a beginner and you started developing like past tier 10, past tier 25, let's say you're at tier 500, then you're probably making good money. You could easily afford Merch Informer. And once again, if you want Merch Informer, I'll leave a discounted link in the description, right? So at this point, you have Redbubble, you have Displayed, you have Amazon. You also have Tu Public, okay, and you have Zazzle. Now, Tu Public is a place where potentially you can save money if you use some of those Redbubble tags on the side. So, for example, I mentioned this earlier. You can take your designs on Redbubble and upload them to Tu Public. So, for example, if this was my design, this ghost kind of thing, I can potentially, if I'm finding the right keywords, take the keywords that I use for my Redbubble and add it straight to my Tu Public. Now, that doesn't always work because they are different platforms and they have different populations and different niches and different random samples. However, it could potentially work some of the times, not all of the time. So if you're really, really looking to save money and not get the Tu Public tool, that can pretty much help from that aspect. So the Tu Public tool is really good from a tagging perspective, but if you can't for whatever reason, I would try my best with the Redbubble tag. So let's just say I spent $130 so far, okay, on 2 tools for the year. And as I'm gradually uploading to Tu Public, now, by the way, I want to be clear, guys, I'm not saying that I wouldn't get the Tu Public tool, but I do have to be extremely, extremely, let's say, stingy with how I spend the money. And stingy is not a bad thing. You do have to watch how you spend in the beginning because you want to be able to maximize the amount of income you're making, okay? In the meantime, okay, I would definitely do some Etsy work, all right? Now, Etsy is interesting because with me for Etsy, guys, I do have a very particular strategy on how I create products, how I do the research, how I do all that for Etsy. I'll leave a link in the description to some of the Etsy videos that I have. I didn't release the video yet on how I do my research, how I find my lower competition niches, but to be honest, to give you guys like a little bit of a hint, is a lot of it comes into the nature of the products that I'm selling. I always look for products that most people aren't thinking about to sell on Etsy because I personally do not want to be the fish in bloody waters. And when I say bloody waters, what do I mean by that? In Etsy, you have large competition. There are some stores with thousands of reviews, tens of thousands of sales, and they're ranking so much stronger. And when you compete against those guys with those bigger stores, it's hard for you to get seen, and there's a lot of them. And really, if you're a customer, why would you go buy a similar or the same product from someone who has lower reviews, not as trustworthy, or whatever the case may be? You're not going to. You're just going to go buy from the behemoths or the mammoths of the platform. With that being said, with Etsy, the only way that I've found a strategy that has worked for me, where I don't have to worry about paying for ads, I don't have to worry about expensive softwares or anything like that, is I focus on low competition niches, and the low competition is found within the products. Now, I do use softwares. I'm not going to share which ones today, but with Etsy, you're going to have to, try. And I do recommend where you pay the 20 cents per listing. I definitely recommend you do that. There's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is because obviously you're not going to have to, keep re-uploading your listing every single time. That's annoying. That's the first thing. The second thing, more importantly, and this is the more important version, is when you're uploading your listings to Etsy and you're paying that 20 cents, it might, especially if you're in the very beginning and you have not that much money, it might kick you in the boots a little bit and basically kind of wake you up and ask yourself, truly, is this product going to sell? You're going to dive deeper into your research. And more importantly, it's like you're playing Russian roulette every single time. Now, I know it's not that serious because it's only 20 cents, but you get my point. It's kind of more serious than if you were just uploading a bunch of garbage to Redbubble. Does that make sense? And when I say garbage, I don't mean anything insulting, but a lot of the times, like when I was first starting and I was testing different things on Redbubble, I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. I would test stuff. If something was bad or good, I would just try it. I would give it a shot. And in the beginning, guys, I never told this story, but my very first Redbubble sale was like a really bad design. And I was genuinely surprised as to why it sold. And I looked back at it and I said, why on earth did this sell? I really have no clue. Okay, so that's kind of where that lies. That's how I would start. Now, as time goes on, if I'm making money, and this is an if, I would then do Society 6, okay? So with Society 6, you're going to have to pay for a plan. And you have 3 plans. You have the $12.99 plan. You have your $4.99 or $5.99, something like that. I don't remember. And then you have your $0 plan, okay? Uploading 10 designs on Society 6 is really not going to do anything for you. I'm just going to keep it real. Part of the reason why I pay for Society 6 is because I get to upload 10,000 designs per account. So if you don't have the money to pay for Society 6, and when I say you don't have the money, I'm not saying you're at ground zero. If you're busy working every single day, trying to earn some money, and you're getting sales here and there on the other platforms, you don't need to start Society 6. You need to knock it out of the park. You need to knock all the other platforms out of the park first. If you had trouble with the other platforms, you're looking for a fresh start and you have some money, then you go with Society 6. The huge and the biggest benefit of Society 6 is the cleansifying of their platform. When I say the cleansifying, I'll explain. When Society 6 has essentially put this requirement on people to pay for larger accounts, tons and tons of other accounts are going to die. Why? Because for most people, they would pay the $12.99 a month if they were making more than $12.99 a month. Does that make sense? Like if I was paying if I was being paid $80 a month on Society 6, I wouldn't have a problem paying $12.99. Does that make sense? So a lot of people's accounts, they're just not making money and they're just uploading designs that don't produce income. And so a lot of their accounts are essentially going to be minimized. Some people will even close their accounts, which is irrelevant, but some people will, but they're going to be minimized. So it creates a huge open market for people like me who have the money to spend on these accounts and definitely have the infrastructure to upload as many designs as possible. You could call it spamming, you could call it whatever you want. I call it making money, and it definitely works for me. So I'm not losing any money, I'm earning money. And prior to this, I guess you could say invocation, this invoked rule of paying this money to get into the accounts, I was making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 depending on the month on Society 6. My average though was like low 2s, low 2000s, high 1 point something. So there were months where I did very good and I was promoting hard with social media and all that, and I was making like $3,400. I think the best month ever in my life was like 5,100 on Society 6. But then again, I had bigger orders. You know, sometimes a person can order a product that costs $400 or $500. You know, that can account for a lot of money, especially if you're making like $4,000 that month. That's like 1/8 of all of your income. So that's kind of a big deal. But some of the times I'll come out with $2,100, $2,700, $1,900, $2,400, things like that. And it does really, really well for me. So for me personally, I don't have a problem paying my $19.99. Does that matter? Or $12.99, whatever it is. I don't even remember what it is. But the cost that you have to pay monthly, I don't have a problem with it. So basically what I'm trying to say is if I was a beginner and I had to start all over again, I would only pay for Society 6 when I have the money coming in from other platforms in a very high level. So, for example, if I'm an expert level Redbubbler and I'm making over $4,000 a month per account, then I would say, okay, let me do that. Now, that takes a lot of work to do that. I think people underestimate it, but it takes a lot of work. Trust me, I've been there. It takes a ton of work. Zazzle, if you're making like an extra $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month, go ahead, take some of that money, put it in Society6. Now, the way that I would do it is if I'm actually making at that level of income, right, I would hire people to work for me. Now, I know you guys aren't going to do that because you're beginners, and I totally understand, and I don't hate on you for that. I'm telling you that's actually a good idea. You should upload yourself. It's not a good idea to hire virtual assistants until either A, you have a lot of money to do so, or B, you've done the work and you have the experience so that you can kind of grow, okay? So, once again, if I was a beginner, had no money, then I have only one option. I have to grow my other accounts until I can then afford to pay for my Society6. Does that make sense? And it's really not a principle of money because $12.99 or $20 a month for a membership is really not that much money. The thing is that you have to be an expert in one platform before you go on to the other. That's my personal belief, and that's what I've been doing ever since the start. You know, I have a lot of people that message me, and they'll say, I just started. What do I do first? You have to be an expert in one thing first before you move on to the next. That's just my belief personally. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So let's kind of look back at things now, okay? You're probably working on Redbubble, okay? You may be doing some work on Tu Public, who knows? You should be doing work on Zazzle. You're probably uploading here and there to Etsy, trying to knock your listings out of the park. And when I say knock your listings out of the park, let me put things into perspective, guys. I have Etsy stores, and I don't have many. I think I only have like 3 or 4, something like that. I can't even remember because I haven't logged into most of them. But I almost never log into them because nobody ever requires like customer service or whatever. But basically, the way it works is I create a listing on Etsy. Within a period of about a month, dare I say even less than a month, that product is going to sell. It just always tends to happen that way. Not out of luck, but I do the research before I create the product. And Etsy, by the way, follows the same formula of Zazzle. I do the research first, then I create the product. I do not do it the other way around. Bigger mistake if you do it the other way around, but it is what it is. Okay? So at this point, I'm uploading to these platforms. If I happen to get lucky on Amazon, great. If I happen to get lucky on Displate, great. You know, I'll work on that. Everything else at this point is secondary other than your own website. Does that make sense? Everything else is secondary. So I'm going to use T-Fury as an example here. T-Fury is a website where you can upload a design to tfury.com. It gets approved. You can kind of make money off of it, etc. T-Fury is not the place it was back then as it is now, okay? T-Fury used to be literal garbage. Like 2 years ago, it used to be trash. No offense, no disrespect, but it used to be literal trash. I don't upload to T-Fury anymore. I just don't. It's not worth my time. I'm not saying it's a bad company. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I believe the same thing with Toastadora. For example, I have blogs that generate more traffic. Well, I had a blog. I had blogs that generate more traffic than T-Fury. Toastadora is one of those other websites as an example where I have websites that generate more traffic in a week than Toastadora will bring in a month. Does that make sense? So for me, it doesn't make sense to really upload there. I need things that will pull me up, not bring me down. Does that make sense? So do I like T-Fury and Toastadora? They're great. Just me personally, with the opportunities that I have in front of me, I'm focusing more on the other stuff. If you happen to have time off in your day and extra time, then have fun, have at it. But the reality is we're human beings and we have only a limited amount of time every single day. And if time was unlimited, sure, upload everywhere. But the reality is time is not unlimited. And you got to prioritize your time. For me, I prioritize it towards the big 5 plus Displate. What are the big 5? The big 5 for me are Etsy, Society6, Zazzle, Redbubble, Tu Public. And then we have Displate, okay? If Merch by Amazon was in the squad, I would have definitely, done it, but obviously I don't have an account. So that is what it is. I used to have an account, but it is what it is, like I said, okay? I would definitely definitely pay for a pro subscription on Canva. I don't get paid to say this. I don't even know how much it cost. Let's see, how much does it cost? Okay, do I have to click to find out? I don't know. All I know is that I have a pro subscription, and you should have a pro subscription too. It makes life 10 times easier because I can export designs in transparent format. Very, very, very useful. That's kind of the main benefit. Like I said, I don't get paid to promote them. I don't get paid to talk about them. But if you notice a lot of my design videos, it's only Canva. I really don't use anything else. Not really don't. I don't. Anything that I use else is like GIMP, Luminar Neo, but Luminar Neo is not really in the same world. Luminar Neo I use for upscaling. So if you're in a position where you're going to need to upscale, i.e. Society 6, for example, if you're going to be uploading to Society 6, Luminar Neo is a requirement. So what is Luminar Neo? Let me go ahead and show you. Luminar Neo, I'm not going to click on the app, but this is the app. I'll leave a discounted link in the description where you can access it. They probably even have a bigger bonus for the holidays right now. But basically, it's a tool that I use for either A, customizing colors, or B, upscaling. I use it so much for upscaling on a daily basis. Probably every single day I upscale over 100 images. I upload also, guys, to stock photo websites, which is a different conversation for a different time. But I use it for that as well. So, you know, upscaling for me is a requirement. So I'll leave, once again, these links in the description. But that's only if you're doing Society 6, okay? Canva, like I said, complete requirement. Now, when I say the tertiary website should be put to the side unless you have free time, I'm roping in T-Fury with all the other ones associated with it. Toastadora, T-Fury, etc. The list goes on and on and on. Cafe Press is even in that list. A bunch of sites, okay? I'm not going to go into it. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's there. Threadless is good. I wouldn't consider it a tertiary site. It's more of a secondary site. But I just focus on the big 5+ display right now because I'm one man, limited time. Now let's talk about building your own website. Now, if you're on a budget, if money is hurting, like let's say you're limited $500 a year, I would definitely focus on Sellfy. Sellfy is not only cheaper, but it is easier to use. Shopify is great, but your $500, I mean, you could spend very, very quickly. Shopify, you spend a lot of money very quickly on Shopify. I love Shopify. I have Shopify stores. It's not ideal for people who are on a budget. Let me just be honest with that. If you're not making money and you don't have a lot of money, Shopify is not the place for you. The reason why I say that is because most people who come to Shopify do not have money. And most people who sign up for Shopify end up not making money because they can't pay for ads. They can't do a lot of things. I could end up spending just $3,000 on an ad system just trying to learn the market. And that money could be absolutely burned. I'll never get it back. I'll never make any profit on it. But that's because I'm learning. If you're not in a position to do that, there's really only one solution. The answer is Sellfy. Okay? Sellfy is cheaper than Shopify. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. You can start off paying $29 a month. Now, some of you might say, what do you mean Shopify is cheaper than Sellfy? How is it cheaper? Let me explain. So Shopify, after you pay your $1 a month, and by the way, the $1 a month is not accessible to everybody. I'll leave the link in the description for the Shopify if you do want to pay $1 a month for 3 months. If you don't want to and you just want to listen to what I'm about to tell you, I'll tell you. Sellfy costs $29 a month if you're paying monthly, meaning you can cancel anytime. Shopify, if you're going to pay monthly, you're going to be paying $39 a month at least. Now, with Shopify, you have to pay for a theme. You have to pay for apps. Depending on how good your theme is, it decreases the cost of your apps. One of the apps you might pay for is email marketing, for example. Another app you might pay for is countdown timers. Another app you might pay for is motivational selling apps. A lot of different things. So there's different things that you can pay for to optimize your site. With Sellfy, there is none of that. You pay once, right? And that's it. You don't pay for anything else. Okay, so that's why I kind of like Sellfy for the beginner, and also because it's simple. And I'm assuming if you're low on money, then you're probably a beginner in these areas, which is fine. Trust me, I've been a beginner. I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what it's like. Start off with Sellfy and do the SEO. That's what I would do as a beginner. If I had to tell myself, if I'd go back in time and tell myself, here's what you would do, this is exactly what I'd do. I'd go to Sellfy. And by the way, I'll leave a link in the description to Sellfy. I would go to Sellfy and I would do the SEO, and that would build me growth over time. So for example, guys, I created a website on Sellfy maybe 8 months ago, okay? It generates about 300 visits a day. Not a lot of visits. In terms of sales, I'm getting anywhere from like 8 to 4 sales a day. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but I'm selling products that on an average cost are $40 per item. And I'm taking home a little bit, about half of that profit. So it's not a lot of money by any means. It's not a lot, but it's good enough to support a lot of my other ventures. If I want to start a new Shopify store, boom, I take the money from the Sellfy and I put them in the Shopify. I put it in the whatever. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you're a beginner, start off with these platforms, right? Working every single day. Take your designs, upload them onto your Sellfy, and your Sellfy has print on demand built into it. You're going to create your print on demand stores through Sellfy, and you're going to focus on SEO. If you have money left to spend, right, the only thing I would do is I would go all out promoting my Sellfy store through either A, Instagram, or B, Pinterest. And if I was to do so, I would use the Instagram, let's say, follow tool, right? I think this one would be the most optimal. Even though it costs a little bit more, it's definitely the most optimal and give you the best results faster, and that would create immediate sales. So sales within the first week, second week, especially depending on your targeting, depending on your niche, you can create sales very, very, very quickly with the Instagram. If you're on Pinterest, you create a pin catalog, you have a lot of pins, and then you start doing the automation with the Pinterest. That will get you a lot of followers. The more pins you post, the more results you're going to get. Does that make sense? Because your followers are going to see those pins. Those pins are going to convert because you're targeting people that are interested. Hopefully that makes all sense. But anyways, so that's what you're going to do. Or that's what I would do if I put myself in my shoes, knowing what I know now many years back with a very limited budget. And how I would go about this is I would start the store as soon as possible while doing the other things, because what happens is the store takes longer to kick in because of the SEO. You're going to get to the point where you're not even going to need to do the social media marketing anymore for your store, and you're just going to sit back and enjoy the sales. But that doesn't happen until you actually do the SEO work. So the SEO work is search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is nothing more than preparing your website for Google's acceptance. And when I say acceptance, what I really mean is their respect in the algorithm. So if my website is on the 5th page of Google, they're not respecting me to be a viable solution to their end reader. I have to do the necessary things to do so. There's over 233 ranking factors as of like 2018 on Google. Probably now, who knows, maybe over 500, who really knows, on Google that contribute to you ranking on Google. And you can get sales within a 6-month period of time, maybe even earlier, honestly, probably even earlier than 6 months. I know when I first started, my very first sale of doing some real SEO came in within 3 months. However, the world has changed, and I started many, many years ago. So that's everything that I just said here, guys, is what I would do if I had to start all over again today, okay? And if I was on a limited budget. Now, granted, if I'm not on a limited budget, there's many things I would do differently. I would speed up my sales much, much more quickly, and I would do different things in many ways differently. But we only confined this to print on demand. I didn't mention really anything about uploading stock photography. I didn't mention anything about blogging. I didn't mention anything about all those other things. So we're just limiting it to print on demand and the options and limited income. So I think, from a month-to-month basis, you're still not going to run out of the $500, and you're going to grow very quickly take a grain of salt when I say very quickly, because you can only grow as fast as the money that you have available to you. Like if you have $500, you're not going to grow as fast as the guy who has 10 grand to spend. You know what I'm trying to say? But for the amount that you have, you can grow relatively quick, and you could literally change your life within a year. You might not be rich within a year, but you might do very, very well. And when I say very well, I mean, if you really committed yourself to a full year of going all out and learning the game, kind of like a mad scientist, testing everything, you could easily finish the first year with 40 grand in income. I'm not saying you're going to be a millionaire. I don't want to say the word easily, because easily is not true. It's going to be difficult, but you can do it. You understand what I'm saying? Easily is not the right word. It will be difficult, but you can do it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Yeah, I got to fix that. That's definitely something I got to fix. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult, but it's possible. When I say easy, what I really mean is you can cross that number. You can cross 40 grand as a first year person doing this, and you're going all out. Because think about it. You're going to be doing T Public, hopefully. You're going to be doing, hopefully, one of these, Amazon or Display. You're going to definitely be doing Redbubble. You're definitely going to be doing Zazzle. You're going to definitely be doing Etsy, right? You have yourself a Canva subscription, which is really all you need. Aside also, if you can, obviously use Dolly. Dolly is free. Well, it's technically not free. You probably have to pay for GPT as well. But using all these different tools, bots and apps tools, using all these different tools, that's exactly what I would do if I had to start all over again. I might be just trying to tread water the first year, but it's gonna really, really blow up years after that. If you guys like this video, I could definitely do a follow-up to after making some money, then what do you do? How do you blow up? Because I bet you there's a lot of people watching this that finally do have some significant income that they're generating from their print-on-demand sites, whether it be Redbubble, whether it be T Public, whether it be whatever site, and we could go into that in the next video if you guys happen to want to see that. And I don't mind explaining what I personally would do and what I actually have done. So I can go into that if you guys want. So let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know in the comments. I know this was a long video. Hopefully some of you guys like long videos. I know some people complain, but hey, I'm a long video type of guy. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Bye.